Hello and welcome to Crimewatch. We're going to bring you the full story of what happened to Julian Gardner, the Sussex man who was murdered on his own farm, in just a moment. But before we do, we've got to look at some of the other cases that we need your help with tonight. 5 years after great-grandmother Nora Tate was bludgeoned to death in her own home, we need to know who sent this Christmas card. Officers suspect that whoever wrote it knows the killer.
What are you doing? What do you want? Go away! Leave me alone!
So if you sent this card or you know who did, please get in touch. We also need to find the rapist who has attacked several women in South London. He's been caught on CCTV and, crucially, seems to have a very distinct limp. Tell us, who is this man? And the sadistic robbers targeting businessmen and their families in the northwest of England, including torturing people by dousing them in boiling water.
Now tell me where the rest of the money is.
There isn't any more!
And then I seen a guy with a casserole. And I thought, is this going to be a threat or is it going to be for real?
Absolutely dreadful. We need to find those men and fast. And Rav, who's on your wanted board tonight?
Well, take a look at this lot. We've got people wanted for drug smuggling, firearms offences and even a festive mail order scam. So if you recognise any of them, get in touch.
And Matthew, what have you got for us?
Well, we have a great example of what can happen when you do pick up the phone. Thanks to a Crimewatch viewer's call and some sophisticated forensic work, a prolific gang of jewel thieves were finally brought to book.
Get your hands in the small of your back! Get your hands in the small of your back!
Well, the gang really thought they could keep getting away with it. We'll reveal the full story of just how wrong they were.
Plus, the incredibly rare and expensive Stradivarius violins stolen from London's Euston Station. It's very similar to this one here in the studio. I have to tell you, they are both worth a fortune. Can you help detectives find the £1 million fiddle? Now, Julian Gardner was a pretty proud man. He'd built up a good-going business on his farm in East Sussex. And it wasn't just his place of work. It had been home to him and his 91-year-old mother, Molly, Mrs. Gardner, for over 40 years. So when a gang invaded the farm in early October, he was determined to protect it. But his decision to confront the raiders was one that would cost him his life.
Good morning, 8 o'clock. It's BBC Sussex on Monday, the 11th of October.
Maybe red. I don't know, but then that wouldn't... So would it, really?
OK, we'll do it red then. What are you stopping for?
It's Julian.
Oh, my God.
Julian? Julian? Kerry! Call an ambulance! What's happened to you?
Ambulance emergency, can I have your address?
It's Bushbound Farm, Robertsbridge. My husband works here.
Yeah.
He's driven into the driveway and Mrs. Boss, Julian, is laying dead on the floor.
Right.
There's blood everywhere.
Okay.
There's blood over his face and all dirt.
Oh.
He's dead.
Well, I never heard people say an unkind word about Julian. They always said he was a good man and a good mate. And he certainly was a good friend to a great many people.
Kind of the ideal brother, really. Always kind to me. Even as children, we never fought, we never fell out, never a cross word. And all that sounds very strange for a brother and sister, but that's the way it was. Really, everyone liked him. Everyone thought very highly of him.
Julian Gardner was killed during a violent burglary at his workshops here on his farm in East Sussex. But his death was no accident. And after ransacking his workshop, the gang who'd come here to rob him vanished, leaving Julian dying on the ground.
1 in 10 Britons spends more time talking to their other halves on the phone.
Even when Julian was a little boy, he loved all things mechanical and he would always take things to bits.
Morning, Julian.
Hello, mate.
He always had a flair for engines and anything mechanical, so I suppose, yes, it was natural that he would eventually end up perhaps doing something like that because he's so good at it.
Any chance you could have a look at Land Rover for me?
And he studied mechanics and he learnt more and more, and over time developed quite a name for himself for his skill, especially with Land Rovers and for his business as well. People knew him apparently up and down the country.
Julian was not only my son, but he was a great friend and companion to me.
Hi, Mum.
Oh, Julian, how lovely to see you.
And you. I picked up the pens for you.
Oh.
He would come every Sunday and do the giant crossword with me, whatever the weather, whatever else he was doing.
Oh, that looks right. What's one?
I don't think...
He was patient and kind and very good company.
It looks right.
Yeah.
And so we did a little bit of the crossword and he said, goodbye, see you soon.
Bypassing a locked gate, the gang drove onto the farm in at least 2 vehicles.
You two, get the doors open. Which one? Find another motor to work. Front door. Jackpot, mate. Blimey. Wheels, tyres, alloys. Gonna need another motor.
But what they hadn't realised was that Julian's house backed onto the workshops, and by now, having been awoken by the noise and commotion, he'd set off to investigate. Julian owned 2 licensed shotguns, and we believe he took one of these with him when he confronted the gang. So there's no evidence to suggest it was ever fired.
What do you think you're doing here?
Get out of the way, old man!
No, this is my Land Rover. Get out. Turn the engine off and get out. No, I've got a rifle. Get out!
Come on! Come on, let's go! Let's go!
No, stop! Back off! Stop! Get out!
Julian was brutally and deliberately crushed by the gang who'd come here to rob him. His injuries were so severe that he had no chance of surviving. Trying to protect his property and livelihood from violent thieves had cost him his life.
I think a lot of the time we still don't believe this has happened to us. It has been really hard. He was so well loved by everyone, and for this to happen to him, of all people, it seems to make it even harder.
Neither Anna or I can really quite fully come to terms with what's happened. Such a good man, such a kind and helpful man. Well, I'd say perhaps stop a moment and think, was what you gained worth a life? If you think perhaps it wasn't, if you could come forward and say what you did and take your punishment, I would think a lot of you.
Well, joining me now is DCI Hibbert, who we saw in the reconstruction there. Adam, thanks for joining us with your team tonight. Julian's mum we saw there is a very composed, very dignified lady, but she's 91. All she wants to find out is who killed her son.
That's correct, a totally unnecessary level of violence resulting in the tragic death of Julian.
You said there in the reconstruction there were 2 vehicles used to get there. What do you know about the vehicles?
Well, we know that the gang used a green Cherokee Jeep, registration number M383WHC, but we're also really interested in the movement of a blue Subaru Legacy, registration number P304MOO.
What can you tell us about... there was a gun missing, right, which is why you think that Julian confronted them with a gun. What can you tell us about this gun that's gone missing?
Well, Julian owned a number of guns, all licensed and properly stored, and the one that's missing is a Breeder 12-bore, 5-shot self-loading shotgun, serial number 63286, similar to the one that I'm holding. Has anybody offered the gun? Has anybody seen the gun? And it's quite possible that it may well now have been sawn off.
OK, now, Adam, you've also got... you think it's pretty important CCTV. Tell us about this.
Yes, that's correct. The man in the shot is of great interest to my investigation, and it's really important and vital that we identify him as soon as possible.
OK, there's also a big reward, briefly.
Yes, Sussex Police is offering £10,000 for the arrest and conviction of those responsible for Julian's death.
£10,000. OK, Adam, for now, thanks very much. I mean, just a terrible death, and of course, as we saw, devastating for Julian Gardner's 91-year-old mother, Molly, and for his sister. If you've got any information on who was on that farm that night, then we really do need you to pick up the phone. There's the number, 0500 600 600, or you could call the independent charity. It's called Crime Stoppers. You can do that anonymously, 0800 555 111. Now, here's Rav with his first batch of wanted faces.
And first up tonight is Che Awambing Collins. Officers on the Isle of Man would like to speak to the 32-year-old in connection with the rape of a woman there at the end of August. Collins, who's a serving soldier, has been AWOL since the end of October and failed to appear in court last month. He's known to drive a green Volkswagen Passat, registration R193MBB. Collins is considered a danger to women, so if you know where he is, please report it to the police immediately. Next here is Paul Griffiths, who police want to speak to after a man was assaulted in a Manchester hotel in October 2009. The victim was badly beaten and left with an injury needing 16 stitches and severe bruising to his face. 33-year-old Griffiths is believed to still be in the Manchester area, but is thought to have much shorter hair now than that picture. Number 3 is Richard O'Brien, and he's a convicted sex offender who's wanted for breaching the conditions of his licence. The 52-year-old also uses the first names James and Michael, and he has a distinctive tattoo of 2 blue hearts pierced with a spear on his chest. O'Brien is from London, but he's believed to have links to Middlesex and West Wales. And the last one for now is this guy. My number 4, Nigel John Saunders, and he's wanted in connection with the production and supply of cannabis worth almost 200 grand. 45-year-old Saunders is known to have lived in Devon, but also has links to Folkestone in Kent. Now, he's a big fan of stock car racing and may have been spotted at one of those events. Lastly, the Metropolitan Police have released new images of people they need help identifying following the serious disorder and violence in central London last Thursday. Those pictures, along with all of tonight's wanted faces, are on the Crimewatch website, which is bbc.co.uk/Crimewatch. So if you know where any of them are tonight, pick up the phone now and let us know. 0500 600 600, or you can text 63399, type crime, space, and then your message. Really important to leave that space, or your message won't get through.
Now, it's the time of year when you may well have started to receive these through your letterbox. It is, of course, a Christmas card. However, this one is very different from the millions of others that we exchange each year. It was sent last December to detectives investigating the death of a great-grandmother in Doncaster, and whoever sent it had far more than festive wishes in mind.
Last December, detectives here in Doncaster received this. It's a Christmas card sent anonymously by someone claiming to have information about a 5-year-old murder mystery. The brutal killing of 69-year-old great-grandmother Nora Tate.
My mum was really bubbly, really chatty to people, chatty to her neighbours. She led a quiet life, you know, it's a simple life. She'd had her children, they'd grown up, she'd had grandchildren, great-grandchildren. It was a nice, quiet life that she just pottered around and went shopping occasionally and come back and people visited, and she was a pleasure to be around.
On the morning of the 13th of October 2005, Nora was found having been beaten to death in her own home.
Nora, can you hear me?
She'd been hit repeatedly around the back of the head and died as a result of the severe fractures to her skull.
Why would somebody murder my mum? You know, she's an old lady in her own home in the middle of the day, living a quiet, pleasant life. Why on earth would somebody have the need to murder my mother?
A murder investigation was launched.
I'm begging for anybody who does know anything at all to please get in touch, no matter how trivial it might seem to them.
But with no obvious motive, detectives had little to go on and turned to the public for help.
Nora Tate from Doncaster was in her 60s and someone bludgeoned her to death.
But sadly, on this occasion, the appeal didn't yield the breakthrough the police and Nora's family were hoping for. And as time passed, the investigation was scaled down. But then, out of the blue, detectives received this Christmas card. Could it finally be the breakthrough they'd been waiting for? Now, this is the actual card that you got. Now, I know that you can't show us the handwriting to protect the identity of the person who sent it, but we've got an exact replica with the words printed on it. Just remind us when that was actually sent to you.
Yes, we received this on the 17th of December 2009, last year. And inside the card, it says, "To the Nora Tate Murder Inquiry, keep up the good work. I might know a little something or nothing. I'll be back in touch after Christmas."
And you're pretty sure that's genuine?
We can't be sure, but we are taking this very, very seriously. And I would just like to clarify that the author of this card is not a suspect. It is someone I believe has vital information in relation to the murder of Nora Tate.
Now, they said there they'd be back in touch after Christmas. Were they?
No, they weren't. No one who's been spoken to on this murder investigation since this card is received has made any reference to it at all. But what I would say is that the family of Nora Tate have been waiting for closure and justice for some 5 years now, and the author of this card may be able to bring this to a conclusion.
So, what do detectives know about Nora's murder? The day before her body was found, Nora spent the morning at Doncaster Royal Infirmary having a hearing aid fitted. She then popped into town for some shopping before getting the bus home. What happened next isn't certain, but it's thought her next stop was the Lucky My fish and chip shop on Hexthorpe Road.
Morning, what do you like?
Small fish and chips, please.
£3.35, please.
They can't remember serving her, but fish and chips were found at her house and their takeaway menu was in her pocket. From here, we think Nora headed home. Detectives believe Nora was killed only a short time later. When she was found the following day, her fish and chip lunch was barely touched on the dining room table. There was no sign of forced entry or evidence of a struggle. So, is it possible that Nora knew her killer? Perhaps they knew that she tended to leave the door unlocked.
Hello. What you doing? What do you want? Go away! Leave me alone! Let me alone!
The only thing missing from the house was Nora's purse containing £100. For someone to murder a defenceless pensioner with such brutality and for such a small amount of money is truly shocking. They must be caught.
Everybody thinks that Christmas is a family time where you sit down and you have your dinner and you eat too much and you eat too much chocolate and you eat too much turkey and things like that. And my mum were part of that. You take it for granted your mum's there, and she's not. My mum's not here for Christmas because she was murdered.
Very sad. Well, joining me now is Detective Superintendent Neil Jessup, who is heading up the investigation. Thanks for taking time to join us tonight. We hope we can help you. A nice, quiet life. She just pottered around, said her daughter. This was a woman who'd lived in the same street for 20 years. It begs the question, who on earth would want to kill her? Why would they want to kill her?
That's right, the motive is unclear. The only items missing were a purse and some £100 in cash. As you saw from the film, you know, Nora did potentially leave the front door unlocked. Maybe that's the reason why the attacker knew Nora, knew of that. Certainly, when you look at the level of violence against Nora and the lack of disruption within the house at the time, and certainly no evidence of it being ransacked, every indication that Nora would have known her attacker, and certainly the attacker would have known Nora.
Briefly, do you think there was more than one killer involved here?
We keep an open mind. There may well have been. That might be another reason why there was so little disruption in the house.
Now here's a puzzle. This card here, what's that all about? Sent to you last December?
That's right, that was received in the incident room, and we would appeal to the author of this card to come forward. We clearly believe they've got vital evidence and information in relation to Nora's murder. They would be treated in the strictest of confidence. Please, now is the time to speak. On behalf of Nora's family, come forward, get in touch, make contact with us.
Let's take a look, Neil, at an e-fit that you think might be important. Take us through this.
That's right. This is a male. He's in his mid to late 20s, white, short brown hair, believed to be selling foodstuffs, cheese, bacon, tea, coffee in the area of Hexthorpe at the time of the murder. Now, it's crucial that we speak to this individual. This individual, again, may hold vital information. There are some close links to Doncaster, believed to have an ex-partner in the Bolby area, believed to have close links to the Conisborough area of Doncaster. And as equally, we need to eliminate this person from the inquiry. OK,
Neil, for now, thank you very much. I should tell you there is a big reward here, £20,000 for arrest and conviction of the person responsible. Nora was murdered, as we heard, 5 years ago. That Christmas card, though, only arrived in December, last December. Did you send it? Do you know the person who sent it? Indeed, if you've got any information on Nora's murder, please call this number. It's 0500 600 600. Now over to Rav with some criminals caught on camera.
Right, here's our first collection of criminals caught on camera, and we start with a horrible gang-related stabbing. It's around 10 p.m. on a Thursday night in April, and these cameras pick up a chase between two groups of youths in Edmonton, North London. The 20-strong group is hunting down a member of a rival gang, and as they run through the bus station, they finally catch up with him. The attackers are armed with baseball bats and knives, and they set about their victim in a ferocious attack, stabbing him 19 times. Remarkably, he survived, but the gang who did this need to be caught. There's a £10,000 reward for information leading to the conviction of the attackers. So help end this senseless violence and name them tonight. Next, a disturbing piece of footage from Cardiff. A young woman is on her way home after a night out in September. As she walks past the University Students' Union, she's spotted by a passing driver. Just up the road, he pulls over, gets out of his car and follows her. In an alleyway, he catches up and, checking no one is watching, approaches and puts his arm around the woman. Moments later, he sexually assaults her. Afterwards, he calmly makes his way back towards his car. This man needs to be caught tonight before he does it again. Make the street safer and tell us who he is. Amazing footage. Call us now, 0500 600 600, or you can text us on 63399, type crime space and then your message. And if you need a second look, go online, bbc.co.uk/crimewatch.
Now, there's been a series of sexual assaults in Tooting in London over the last 3 years. Police are optimistic, though, that you're going to be able to identify the man responsible because he's been caught on camera and he is very distinctive. Detective Chief Inspector John Oldham is leading the investigation. He's here with us now. What more can you tell us, John?
Hello, yes, there's been 3 offences to date, which we can link. The first was a rape in August 2007. The other 2 were serious sexual assaults in January 2009 and May of this year. All the offences are in the Tooting area and in the early hours of the morning. What's unusual about this offence is that the suspect was unusually friendly towards the victim after the offence, offering them a cigarette or engaging them, attempting to get their phone number.
Yeah, that is very unusual. Let's take a look at this CCTV you've got. First of all, let's take a look at the attacker walking alongside a street in Tooting. He's going past the bus shelter. This is him with the check shirt on. The woman who is about to become his victim walking on the inside. Now, there he is again with a jacket on. He's walking quickly away and with purpose, apparently in the opposite direction from the lady who heads off down this street in the dark. The important bit is that now, here we go, this is the attacker coming back. He looks around, checks to see if anybody's there and heads down the street after the woman. That is entirely chilling, I have to say. Now, let's come to the distinctive bit. Can you talk us through that?
Yes, for this piece of CCTV shows he has a distinctive limp. If you see the left leg, he flicks and kicks it as he puts it down. I've been working with a specialist podiatrist, an expert in how people walk, and he explains very helpfully that this could be a permanent condition, could be the result of one leg being longer than the other, or it could be the result of a serious injury.
Yeah, and that's his left leg, is it? That's kind of flicking
yes.
out as he walks there, and the foot especially is flicking out. In terms of the area, in terms of the person, briefly, what else do you know?
Well, it's a very, very small area, an area less than 1.5 square miles. We believe he has strong local knowledge, and from the CCTV and what the victims have been able to tell us, we believe he's from the Tamil local area community. There is a DNA profile on the man, so we can quickly eliminate anyone from the inquiry. There is a £10,000 reward, and as I say, we believe he is a attacker which we need to get very quickly.
Yeah, we certainly do. Thank you very much, John, for updating us. Someone surely is going to recognise this man with the limp, this man who has raped. If you do, I would urge you to call us as soon as you can. It's the usual number, 0500 600 600. If you've been a victim of crime, there is the victim support line, of course. You can call them on 0845 30 30 900. Now over to Matthew and Rav. They've got news on some of Crimewatch's previous cases.
Well, first, from a case we featured on our last programme. You may remember the frightening sex attack on a woman in Elscar near Barnsley. Well, just days after the programme went out, a 47-year-old man from Rotherham in South Yorkshire was arrested and charged with rape. We'll, of course, keep you updated with how that case progresses.
We'll have to think a lot further back to remember this one. 25 years ago, in one of the earliest Crimewatch reconstructions, we featured a violent armed robbery in Cromford near Matlock in Derbyshire.
Right, stand back, it's a raid.
Come on, get in. Well, at last, one of the robbers has been convicted, thanks in part to advancements in fingerprint technology. Now, he's 59-year-old Alan Murray from Pilmore near York, and he'll be sentenced tomorrow. During his trial, the prosecution relied heavily on the Crimewatch reconstruction, as the police files had been lost. Great stuff, but police still need your help in identifying the two other men involved, in particular, the man carrying the gun. So, if you have any information about that crime, even after all these years, please do get in touch.
Right now, still to come, the brutal robbers who are willing to torture innocent people for cash.
Now you'll tell me where that safe is.
I'll ask you one more time. Where's the other safe?
There's nothing else!
Can you name the men behind the masks?
And the armed gang who stole £1.5 million worth of jewellery in a string of robberies across the country. They seemed unstoppable until they were caught in a forensic trap laid by one of the jewellers.
The liquid itself has a forensic fingerprint or DNA style identifier that allows us to put the criminal back at the scene of the crime.
And the case of the missing £1 million violin. Can you help police find it? Before that, though, here's Rav with some more wanted faces.
Right, first in this section is this fella, Thomas Anthony Fleet. Officers want to speak to the 22-year-old in connection with the rape of a teenage girl in Shropshire in October 2009. Fleet, who also uses the names Tom and Ant, has links to South Wales, Devon and Somerset. He may be living rough and travelling around the country, busking with a guitar or penny whistle. His hair may now also be longer and he might have a goatee beard. Number 6 is Robert Routhery. The 52-year-old is wanted jointly by New Scotland Yard detectives and Spanish police for his part in a conspiracy to import 1.5 tonnes of cocaine worth an estimated £375 million. That's into the UK and Spain. Routhery has family in Puerto Banús in Spain and also has links to South East London and Morocco. He used the nickname Grim in the past, and since this picture was taken, Routhery has shaved off his hair. Now, Phase 7 is Jody Rouse, and he absconded from Sudbury Prison in Derbyshire in September. 29-year-old Rouse was serving a 10-year sentence for robbery, violent disorder and firearms offences. He has links to London and Hertfordshire. He has some quite distinctive facial markings, though. A birthmark over his left eye and 2 moles, one on his nose and one on his right cheek. Rouse is considered dangerous and should not be approached, so if you see him, just call police immediately. And finally, number 8 is very seasonal. This is Mohammed Asif, and police want to speak to him about a mastermind of a £1 million Christmas mail order scam last year. Thousands of people ordered goods from this professional-looking catalogue. But having paid their money, they received absolutely nothing. Now, 31-year-old Asif is originally from Manchester but has connections in London. The scam ruined hundreds of people's Christmases last year, so let's find him tonight. So, do you see anyone there that you recognise? If so, please call us 0500 600 600, or you can text us 63399, type crime, space, and then your message. And remember, all our wanted faces stay on the website, which is bbc.co.uk/crimewatch, until they're caught.
Now, the gang of armed robbers who have forced their way into several family homes in northwest England over the past few months. They've beaten a man senseless. They terrorised a couple in their late 60s. They even tried to drown a family pet. But most worryingly of all, they are prepared to torture to get what they want.
Marion! 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 Oh, God, what have they done to you?
Marion and Tommy Bradshaw raised a family in this house. It's where they felt safe and comfortable and was full of happy memories.
I've lived in this house for 17 years. Me and Marion. I've always felt comfortable here. The grandkids could come up and play. And they did spend a lot of time here growing up. Everything was great. Everything was going perfect as far as I was concerned. And then things spoiled it.
Hello, sweetheart. It's Granny. Hello. Are you looking forward to the fireworks tomorrow? Great. No, don't you forget to let me know how those rockets went on. You know the ones I bought you? Let me know how high they went. OK, enjoy yourself. Bye.
Where's the money? Who the bloody hell are you? Come here! On the floor. Where's the money? I haven't got any money. Where's the safe? I haven't got a safe. Don't look at me, look at the floor. Take her upstairs.
You take Marion's hands up and order her upstairs. And knowing that she has a bad heart, I thought, oh, God, no.
Go to the safe!
Okay.
Come on! Hurry up!
Okay.
Come on!
Upstairs, Marion was forced to give over the contents of the safe. But the offenders were convinced that there was more money hidden in the house.
I'll ask you one more time. Where's the other safe?
There's nothing else!
Come on! Marion! What are you doing to her?
I've never been in a situation where you know you need to do something or you want to do something, and yet everything's preventing it. You can't do a thing. I felt bloody useless.
Oh, you're big tough men, aren't you? Doing that to a woman. Shut up! Right, get a cow. Get out. What are you doing? What are you doing? Get in the chair. What are you doing? Now tell me where the rest of the money is. There isn't any more.
And then I seen a guy with a kettle. And I thought, oh, God, is this going to be a threat or is it going to be for real?
Now tell me where the money is. There isn't any more. Come on. Are you going to tell me now? There isn't any more. Come on, let's go.
You want to scream out to release tension or whatever. I thought I can't. I didn't want to cause that more anxiety for her.
Tortured, terrified and left traumatised. But shockingly, they weren't the first to suffer at the hands of these sadistic robbers. In late September, Brendan O'Halloran was arriving home. He lived just 8 miles away from Tommy and Marion.
Hello. Hello.
Juice, Lily.
was in there about 5 minutes, having a wash, and the bathroom door opened, and there was 3 men stood there with balaclavas, pickaxe handles.
On the floor! On the floor! Timer! Where's the money? Money! Where's the money? I don't got any money! Where's the money?
I gave them the money what I had, and then they thought there was a safe. They kept just shouting at me, where's the safe, where's the safe?
Now tell me where your safe is. Let's want to drown your dog. I haven't got a safe. Right, get the dog. Leave him. Get him in there.
Next minute, he took the dog in the toilet and tried to flush you.
Drown it. Tell me where your safe is.
Even though he'd already handed over thousands of pounds, the gang were greedy for more. Brendan insisted there was no more cash, but they didn't believe him.
Get the kettle. Now you'll tell me where that safe is. Give him the water.
Thought I was going to die. Thought it was going to kill me then. They tied me up and left me there. They left me for dead.
The men we are looking for are sadistic and cowardly thugs. They have terrorised a woman in her own home, beaten a defenceless man to a pulp, and tortured a 69-year-old. Someone out there knows who did this. Do you know what the people you're protecting are capable of?
I can't replace what they've took away from me and my family. They've took their home away. They don't feel safe anymore.
I've thought of extremes you go to, or can go to. But that then would put me on a par with them. And they won't drag me down to that.
It's really shocking, isn't it? Well, Cheshire Police are here in the studio. I'm also joined by DS Paul Grimes from Merseyside Police. Thanks for joining us, Paul. We should say that attacks like this in the home are very, very unusual. The degrees of violence used here are not seen very often. Let's look at what we do know. It's interesting, isn't it, that both Tommy and Brendan, separately, are in the skip hire business. Do you think that's important?
I think these people are targeting people who they believe are involved in cash transactions and maybe storing large amounts of cash in the home addresses. Obviously, we've given advice to these people that they shouldn't be keeping cash amounts at home.
Yeah.
On both occasions here, it would appear that the offenders have got away with less than what they'd initially gone to get, because people just don't keep that sort of cash at home.
Yeah, they targeted somebody else who was involved in a cash business, you think? You think it's linked?
Yeah, there was another incident out in St Helens. During that, there was a large valuable diamond ring stolen.
OK, yeah, in fact, we can take a look at that ring here and people can see it detailed on the website. It is, I mean, it's a very beautiful and very distinctive ring, if anybody has seen it. Who else is it that you're appealing to tonight? Who do you want to talk to?
These people will be bragging about the crimes that they've committed. We would like to speak to anybody, girlfriends, parents, friends, who may have noticed their absence around the 27th of September and the 4th of November this year, and may have seen them having access to large amounts of cash thereafter.
OK, that could be significant. There is a big reward here.
Yes, there's a reward of up to £25,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of those responsible. OK, Paul, that's a lot of money. Thanks for joining us. We do need to find this gang before they attack another family. They surely want to. If you know anything, please do call now. There's the number, 0500 600 600. Now here's Rav with his second batch of criminals caught on camera.
And this time we start with a pair of armed bank robbers. Inside a branch of Santander Bank in Beckenham, South East London in September. Guards arrive with a routine cash delivery, but moments later, two robbers appear to confront them. There's something strangely similar about their deadpan expressions. They're wearing latex masks. And though they may look like a pair of jokers, they have a gun and threaten to use it. They tie up the guards before making off with a large sum of money. Now, you might not be able to see their faces, but officers are sure there are people out there who know who these highly organised criminals are. Can you help unmask them tonight? Here's a young lady who needs a good ticking off. She was clocked by a camera in a branch of the pawnbroking chain Cash Converters in Norwich in September, where she was browsing with a male friend. While he has the shop assistant's attention, she wastes no time and cheekily grabs a Rolex wristwatch from the display cabinet and slips it into her bag. Just seconds later, she's out the door, taking the £7 watch with her. Time is of the essence. Tell us who she is tonight. If you know anyone, you know what to do. 0500 600 600, or you can text us on 63399. Just type crime, space, and then your message.
On now to the chilling case of a father of two who was murdered in July of this year. 27-year-old Richard Deacon was shot and killed whilst in his own home, lying in his own bed in Chasetown in Staffordshire. 5 months on, his family are distraught and they are terrified. Police need your help to find out who killed him. Joining me now is the officer who's leading the case, Detective Chief Inspector Dave Garrett. Dave, thanks for joining us. So talk us through what it was that happened.
Yeah, it's a very shocking case, and it's had a terrible effect on the family. Both Richard's partner and the children haven't returned to the house since the shooting. What actually happened was at about 8:30 on Monday the 5th of July of this year, Richard's partner actually left the house to take the children to school, and what happened next was actually caught on CCTV. A black Vauxhall Corsa car approached the address. A masked man got out carrying a sawn-off shotgun. He went across the garden, entered the house, went upstairs and shot Richard twice in bed. He then left the house, got back in the car and drove it a short distance away where the car was actually dumped.
And there, this is it. We're just watching him now, just exiting there, as cool as a cucumber.
Yeah,
he
no
looks.
running at all.
What do you know for certain about the killer?
What we know is that they were driving around the scene of the crime prior to the offence. They actually then drove the car about half a mile away and dropped it in Copynook Lane in Burntwood, where it was recovered. And we believe the offenders, we've got intelligence, the offenders are from the Wolverhampton area.
Right, OK. Now, I mean, just watching that film there, you could see how calmly the guy walked out after he had shot somebody. He had just killed somebody.
That's right.
Do you think it's a professional hit?
I think it's got all the hallmarks of a contractual killing, but we still need some help to find out why Richard was targeted and also who actually committed that offence. And there is a reward on offer of £20,000 for information leading to the conviction of Richard's killers. And it's the first time that, obviously, the family have got Christmas without Richard, so they are desperate for answers.
Of course they are, Dave. Thanks very much for updating us. So, can you help Richard's family begin to try to at least put their lives back together after this completely shocking crime? I would urge you tonight to pick up the phone. There's the number, 0500 600 600. Now, more news on cases that you've already helped with.
And firstly, news on a case we showed you in March 2009. Father of three, Ahmet Paytak, was shot and killed when two men on a motorbike attacked the family shop in Holloway, North London. The rare motorbike was captured on CCTV as the killers made their getaway. The family had been left devastated by what police believed was a case of mistaken identity. Well, in November, 31-year-old Michael James from Manor House in North London was given 2 life sentences with the recommendation that he serve a minimum of 30 years. The other man involved in the attack is still to be identified. There's a £20,000 reward for information leading to the conviction of those involved. So, if you have any information about this attack, please contact us tonight.
Now, yesterday, this man, 35-year-old Mark Weston, was found guilty of the 1995 murder of Vicky Thompson in Ascot-under-Wychwood in Oxfordshire. The case was reconstructed on Crimewatch and showed the mother of two setting off to walk the family dog. She was found later with fatal injuries by a nearby railway line. Well, Weston is the first person to have faced a second murder trial as a result of new forensic evidence since the so-called double jeopardy rule was abolished. Small amounts of Vicky Thompson's blood, which were missed during the initial investigation, were subsequently discovered on a pair of Weston's boots.
And lastly, you might remember this lady who we featured on our Wanted Faces board last month. Adele McCall was on the run after being convicted for GBH for attacking a man with a vodka bottle. We had several calls about her, and as a result she was picked up just a couple of days after the show. McCall's due to be sentenced at Birmingham Crown Court tomorrow. Another great result.
Next, how a gang of jewel thieves who thought they were unstoppable were finally brought to book. They struck repeatedly across the country, in total bagging around about £1.5 million worth of high-end jewellery. Well, now Matthew has the inside story of how painstaking detective work, cutting-edge technology and a sharp-eyed Crimewatch viewer all combined forces to put the gang behind bars.
Right, you get on the floor! Get on the floor!
Between 2005 and 2007, a gang of jewel thieves carried out a series of daring armed robberies across the country.
They were quite a sophisticated team. On average, they were carrying out one robbery every 2 months. They were able to get in and out of the premises very quickly, sometimes in under a minute.
This is the story of how detectives from Hampshire used new forensic techniques and a call from a Crimewatch viewer to track the gang down and put them behind bars.
And it's just the 2 rings. You want these sizes?
Yes, please.
Let's have a look. Yeah. Ah, yeah. I think that's it. It's for you. It's a lovely ring.
Right, you get on the floor! Get on the floor!
Robbo came towards me, pointing the gun in my face, and screamed at me to get down onto the floor.
Get on the floor! Get on the floor! Come on, move to the back!
I was terrified. It was obviously a very, very horrendous situation for everyone involved.
Stop!
Again and again, they struck jewellers in all corners of the UK, from Hampshire to Yorkshire. And the gang would change their disguises from job to job. Sometimes it was fake beards, glasses and hats. On one occasion, it was a postman's uniform, another, full forensic suits. But once their appearance changed, one thing remained the same. They were always armed.
Get on the floor! Move! Move!
But during their first raid in Winchester, one of the robbers had left a vital clue.
Boss. OK, what have you got?
Found a glove here.
We sent that glove for forensic analysis and found that it contained the DNA of a male. That DNA was matched on the DNA database to a male called Luke Aaron Nash.
Nash had been a serial offender since the age of 15 and had 19 convictions, mostly for theft and burglary, by the time he was 24. And crucially, he was from Birmingham. But Nash was not about to cooperate.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know nothing about it.
He refused to answer any of their questions. So, in the hope he'd lead them to the rest of the gang, police decided to let him go. Then, in October 2006, the robbers struck again in Lichfield. But despite their meticulous planning, they couldn't get the cabinet doors open, and they left empty-handed. As a result, they made what turned out to be a crucial mistake. They decided to return to the scene of their first successful robbery, Jeremy France Jewellers in Winchester. But this time, Jeremy France was ready for them.
3 men came in all together. There was a staff member, there were 2 members of the public. The gun went straight onto them. I personally was up in the office and I hit the buttons.
Anti-bandit smoke flooded the shop, causing the robbers to panic and run back towards the door, where a special sprinkler system was waiting for them. The liquid it sprays is called smart water.
The liquid itself has a forensic fingerprint or DNA style identifier that allows us to put the criminal back at the scene of the crime at the time of the crime.
If we located those people, we could positively link them without any shadow of a doubt to the Jeremy France robbery.
And that's where Crimewatch came in.
The jewel thieves who think they can get away with it time and time and time again. Well, let's prove them wrong. At this.
And someone did. Just one phone call gave police the breakthrough that they needed. The viewer named 3 men, and all of them were from Birmingham. 37-year-old Elliot Burton, 28-year-old Simon Waller, and Luke Nash, the man whose DNA had been found in the glove after the first robbery. When they looked into the suspects further, they found that Elliot Burton had a history of shoplifting and stealing cars. And his longtime accomplice was none other than Luke Nash. With the link between Burton and Nash established, attention turned to the third man, Simon Waller. Officers had noticed that Waller resembled one of the robbers that they'd labelled the Flat Cap Man. But could they prove it was him? They enlisted the help of a facial recognition specialist.
There were some very persuasive similarities in terms of the overall appearance of his face, the musculature of his cheeks. In particular, for me, was the appearance of his nose and the way that effectively it turned up towards the point of the tip. We were able to go back to the police and say that there was good supporting evidence that they were one of the same person.
After 14 months of detective work, police were finally ready to make their move.
Get your hands in the small of your back! Get your hands in the small of your back! All right!
The houses of all three were searched for anything which might link them to the robberies. Nash and Burton were clean, but inside Waller's house, police struck gold. They discovered in a bag 53 items of the stolen jewellery. And inside an airing cupboard, another breakthrough, 2 handguns. But were these the weapons used in the robberies?
We analysed the 2 guns at the Smart Water laboratories, and we found that one of them was covered in smart water. We could prove and provide evidence to the police that actually that smart water could only have come from Jeremy France in Winchester.
The evidence against Waller was damning. Facial recognition had identified him, and he'd been caught red-handed with both stolen jewellery and the handgun. They could link Nash to the first Winchester job.
Come on, Luke, tell me about the glove.
His DNA was found at the burnt-out getaway car, but building a case against Burton was a lot trickier.
Listen, I don't know Simon Waller. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what you want from me. I ain't done nothing, all right?
But Burton's lies couldn't save him when this photograph was recovered from his laptop, showing the pair on very friendly terms. After an investigation lasting 14 months, detectives finally nailed one of the most elusive jewellery gangs the UK has ever seen. Nash was sentenced to 7 years for the first Winchester job, and Waller got 9 years for conspiracy to rob. Both men pleaded guilty. Unlike Elliot Burton. In the final weeks of his trial, Burton skipped bail and went on the run. But a month later, he handed himself in and was given a 12.5-year sentence. The robbers, who thought they were too smart to be caught, were now all finally behind bars.
What a story that was. Very strange that they went back to the scene of a previous crime, I think.
Yeah, big mistake. They just got too cocky. They were pulling off a raid every couple of months. They'd netted about $1.5 million. In one particular raid, they stole 87 luxury watches, Cartier, Rolex, top-end stuff worth 500 grand. But they got greedy. It was that classic thing. Yeah. They figured in their mind that the original jeweller had probably restocked. He had, but he'd also got in all this new security stuff, and when they got there, they were in for a real shock.
Yeah, what about the new security stuff? The forensic technology, fascinating.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. It covers the criminal in this spray, and that has in it this unique forensic signature almost, which is specific to that exact location. Now, it's technology that's used in most of those security vans you see on the high street delivering cash, with supermarkets, with banks, with 40,000 churches across the country, the majority of the churches which use it to actually protect the lead on their roofs. You see, the dye in this spray is permanent, so if it crops up in ultraviolet cameras that they have in most police custody suites, then instantly the detective can link the criminal with the crime. So it is really, really clever, and it was really helpful here in actually nailing this reckless, dangerous armed gang, getting them off the streets. A real result.
Fascinating. Matthew, thanks very much. Well, if you thought the jewellery stolen by that gang was expensive, then I would urge you to take a look at this. It is an extremely rare, and I have to say extraordinarily valuable, Stradivarius violin. It's 300 years old and worth £1.2 million. It's so precious that I'm not even allowed to touch it. Well, 2 weeks ago, another equally irreplaceable Stradivarius, very similar to this one, was stolen from the world-famous violinist Min Jin Kim. She'd stopped for a sandwich at Euston Station in London when opportunist thieves struck. Well, joining me now is Detective Inspector Andy Rose from British Transport Police. What a tale. What more can you tell us?
Well, these pieces are unique. They're easily recognisable and they're very, very difficult to sell on the open market. It's got a great value to, obviously, its owner, for both professionally and sentimental. But the irony is that I don't believe that the thieves had any idea what they were actually taking when the offence took place.
Incredible. It was also stolen with a couple of bows that amount to 60,000 quid's worth. Yes. I want to ask you, Andy, briefly, because I haven't got that much time, about the CCTV. People haven't seen this before. You haven't released it.
No,
what are we looking at?
We're releasing images of three men who we've not yet identified, who were at the scene at the time the bow was stolen. And we think they've got information that's vital to our investigation. We'd urge them to come forward and speak to us. Obviously, we'd like to speak to anyone else who's got information about the theft, and we'd like to speak to anyone who knows the current whereabouts of the violin, and there's a £15,000 reward.
Yeah, that might help. Thanks very much. If you've got any information on the missing Stradivarius, please do get in touch via the usual number. Now, Rav's got details of what's been happening on the phones tonight. Rav.
Well, the phones have been very busy. As you can see behind me, we've had over 20 calls on the Sussex farmer murder already, and lots of names suggested for the man on CCTV. This guy, remember, the police want to speak to him as he was in the area at the time of the offence, so it looks like they're closer to speaking to him. And very quickly, Nora Tate update. We've had 7 calls, but in particular 2 names for this e-fit, so let's hope that leads to some arrests.
Right, that's everything for now. Details on all of tonight's cases, including the reconstructions, of course, are on the website, the usual address, bbc.co.uk/crimewatch. I think it's been really busy on the phones tonight, but the lines will stay open until midnight, and from 7:30 tomorrow morning. We're going to be back in January, but before then, don't forget, we're going to be here in just 35 minutes after the news with an update on all of tonight's cases. The viewers in Northern Ireland are going to have to wait a little bit later, 11:10 there. If you think that you can help, it is not too late. Call now. Your calls really do count. I'll see you at 10:35. Until then, from me and all the team, thanks for watching. Thanks for calling. Do have a very good evening. Bye-bye.